It all began with a movie.
Every kid coming out of that movie, I wanted to take a Frisbee and throw it at people.
It just blew me away.
And 20 years later, opens up a whole new world.
But we didn't make a direct sequel to Tron. We made something brand new.
But the trip wasn't without its glitches.
Disney came back to us and they said, we think you guys should do more light cycles in the game. We're not going to be able to get them into the normal single-player version of the game. We'd have all types of problems.
Strap yourself in for a behind-the-scenes look at this cult classic.
Sid Mead has come back.
He would call us up and he would say, I want to work on this.
I was interested in redesigning the light cycle for the game.
I love to journey through it because it is sort of coming home for me.
This is the world of Tron 2.0.
Tron really hits us on something that's pretty visceral.
Who are you? What is the meaning of all of this?
My inner geek just starts to come out of my mouth. That's what Tron does to you.
In early 1980, a young Steven Lisberger has an idea for a film that will take place inside a computer.
We wanted to do something revolutionary, so we designed this character that was made out of light, made out of pure energy. What happened was we needed a setting for him. And when I saw Pong games, I thought, well, this is perfect. This guy will be the gladiator who fights in those games.
To bring this secret world to life, Lisberger utilizes the untapped medium of computer graphics.
Quite frankly, we wanted to push the envelope as far as we could. And we ended up making a movie that was not only highly experimental in terms of how it was made, but in terms of what it looked like.
Lisberger also hires two designers to help polish the look of the film, the French artist Mobius and Sid Mead, a graphic designer who is helping to create the futuristic look of the film Blade Runner.
When Steve Lisberger explained the Tron film idea, it was in the future. It was a two-part story. One part was the real world, and the other part was inside the computer world. And I didn't have a computer at that time. Had absolutely zero knowledge of CPUs, or programming, or any of that.
It was this new look. It was all new. And I think that's what really drew these guys in. And they were all shown these sort of renderings. And it was these clean, smooth lines. And they were all really excited. They're like, this is something new and different that none of us have ever really seen before. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can push it.
Well, Steve Lisberger gave me graphics of computer circuitry. And I used those for inspiration to do the landscape of Tron Land, to sort of feed my imagination for doing the landscape leading up to the CPU. And then the vehicles, I used classic industrial design logic, taking the essence of the aircraft carrier, the light cycle, and the tank, and designing what the public would recognize instantaneously as each of those different vehicles.
The light cycles, locators, and tanks that Sid creates helps give the film its distinctive look.
Tron, enter its world this summer.
When Tron first appears in theaters in the summer of 1982, audiences are stunned and hooked.
Oh man, this isn't happening. It only thinks it's happening.
Young people liked it, 10-year-olds were ready for it. A lot of people were appreciative of how incredible it looked, but they couldn't keep up with the cyber aspect of it.
Oh yeah, I saw Tron when I was in, 5th grade, 6th grade.
Who's that guy?
That's Tron.
Like every kid coming out of that movie, I wanted to take a Frisbee and throw it at people. I grew up in Los Angeles, so I'd go to the beach and we'd play Tron.
Everybody in my generation, we all clambered to the theater the second it opened and, sat there wide-eyed watching.
Why you want to break into the system?
Because, man, somewhere in one of these memories is the evidence.
Story-wise, it's good 80s sort of crazy little story. But, the whole video game thing, computer graphics thing, just blew me away. The fact that the stuff was animated, but it wasn't hand-animated. It's coming from Disney, but it's not Mickey Mouse, right? Something is different about how they're animating this stuff. And then when you realize, oh, it's done by computer, and that was sort of at the dawn of the whole like computer graphics. It was this new look.
I was into computers already, and so I was very much inspired by some of the stuff that they were talking about in the movie. I kind of got it.
The plot of the movie is perfect for a video game.
It was a gamer's movie. It had graphics that nobody had ever seen before. You know, the CG effects, the cool fighting, the sci-fi setting, you know, with the light cycles and things like that. Gamers relate to that kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff they want to play in games. And that was like the first time on the big screen you actually saw that playing out in front of you.
I spent a lot of time in the video arcades.
I was just a video game fanatic. And to see just that opening shot of Flynn's arcade, you know, and there's all these people playing, I'm like, wow, I'm not the only person who does that. You know, it's actually, here's a movie, you know, everyone else does it.
Tron the video game arrives in arcades alongside the film, and gamers start running out of quarters. The game begins to rival the film for biggest earner. The arcade game features 4 different games, each one reflecting a different aspect of the film.
You could go in, and in 1 second you're moving your little arm up and down, shooting the spiders, trying to get in. And then you're in the tank battle. And then, of course, the light cycles. It's like each game you had to utilize kind of a different skill set in terms of gaming to be successful at it.
All great games need a sequel, so the following year, Bally Midway releases Discs of Tron. Originally intended to be included with the Tron arcade game, it allows players to battle in the disc arena.
But when you found a Discs of Tron machine, you just like put your quarters up along the edge, you know, like, you know, $20 worth of quarters, and then you get a line of people behind you because everybody wanted to play. I think the first one I played of that was actually an enclosed booth where you actually got to sort of lean back. I like the multiple discs, being able to ricochet things around. You know, it was pseudo 3D. So visually it was cool, but just like, just being able to bank the discs around, hit the guy from the back. My inner geek just starts to like come out of my mouth. That's what Tron does to you. It just sucks the inner geek out of you.
The games were successful adaptations of the film, and a generation of gamers grew up with a fond memory of Tron. The film has enough of an effect on its audience that in January of 2002, Disney releases the Tron 20th Anniversary DVD. But despite the film's cult status, it began to look like there would never be a return, until a chance encounter in a hallway 20 years later that changed everything.
Hello.
In 1994, Jason Hall and several other employees at a small software developer decide to take a step into the unknown.
So I was an engineer working at a different company. We were making educational children's software. And we all got together and decided that we wanted to get more involved in games since we were playing them all the time. So we started company Monolith and kind of struck out on our own there.
Within a few short years, Monolith Productions, based in Washington State, produced some memorable and successful games. Then in November of 2000, Monolith releases the first-person shooter, No One Lives Forever. Gamers and critics are impressed with the clever writing.
Any sign of her yet? Nope. Damn, I gotta pee. Well, go then. What if she shows up while I'm in there?
And its very stylistic look.
And at the time, people at Disney really liked No One Lives Forever.
What I like about their work is that they are very much story-driven. Even though they primarily develop first-person action games, they just don't make run-and-gun shooters. There's great gameplay and a lot of humor.
Hello? I was involved in a technology deal with Disney. And so I wound up running into this producer who really liked Tron as much as I did. And we started talking about Tron.
Jason meets with Buena Vista Interactive to discuss a possible collaboration.
Monolith brought an interesting proposition to us because they had such a passion for the project. Tron was something that inside their internal studios lived on and on and on. When the idea came up, one, they had this great credibility with No One Lives Forever and Shogo and had this technology that was beautiful and was directly in line with what our vision for Tron 2.0 was going to be.
They seem to really be the best fit for us.
To be perfectly frank, you're only getting this assignment because we've no other choice.
In early 2002, Monolith begins preliminary work on what will become Tron 2.0. To help recreate the Tron look, Buena Vista arranges to merge the old world with the new.
Both myself and the art director, the day Disney called us and said, you guys want to have Sid Mead come up and sort of talk to Tron? I don't think we said anything for 5 minutes. They probably thought the line went dead, because both of us, I think, were passed out on the floor. Of course, Sid Mead. Yeah, why wouldn't we want to work with Sid Mead?
The first approach working on Tron 2.0 was from Cliff Comita over at Disney Interactive. And just really to determine whether I was interested in redesigning the light cycle for the game. I said, well, of course. And I immediately went to the grocery store, bought 6 or 7 magazines on bikes.
Sid came up and gave the whole presentation to the entire team. He was awesome, but we just drilled the poor guy for, it seemed like 12 hours. It was just everyone was like, oh yeah, and what if we did this, and what if we did this? And Sid's like, oh yeah, it would be cool if you did this. And he just got into it.
We found out all kinds of interesting things from him about, because of the computer limitations, back then he couldn't do certain things with his design. So we had him design the new light cycle for this one, however he wanted it to be. And what you're actually seeing in the new one is much closer to the vision of what he wanted for the old one.
As soon as the word gets out, others jump in.
Steven Lisberger, director of Tron, his son was just super excited about the game, so of course Steven starts to get excited, and so all these original people from the movie start to look at this game, and we start getting calls from these people who are like, yeah, this is awesome, you guys are making it awesome, I want to help, what can we do to help? Sign me up.
In March of 2002, Buena Vista Interactive announces its collaboration with Monolith Productions.
Disney was great. They didn't say the protagonist has to be this guy, the hero has to be this guy, blah, blah, blah. None of that. They basically gave us this huge blank canvas and said, you guys make good games, we know it, make us Tron. We're like, wow, great, So it's 20 years later, what do we do?
And that's exactly where the story begins, 20 years later.
So the intro cinematic sort of sets up this story.
So Alan Bradley now is an older gentleman. He still works at ENunn. So Alan Bradley has been working for years and years and years to try to figure out how to digitize people into the computer. And he has a son named Jet. That's the character you play.
The first scene, Jet's on the cell phone.
Look, Dad, I know you're disappointed. Damn right, I'm disappointed.
Jet just turned down this promotion to this higher level programmer because he wants to make games.
Life is short, Pop.
And then the line goes dead.
Dad? Get your hands off. Dad, can you hear me?
Tragedy happens. Alan Bradley seems to have suddenly disappeared, and you as the son are trying to find him.
With a new story comes new environments and characters.
We had an IP that we could sort of start from, we could steal ideas from, and that had a group of guys who were just brilliant, who created it. So we could suck their brains. But we didn't make a direct sequel to Tron, we made something brand new.
But creating something new has its limits.
Yes, there were limitations, but it wasn't limiting. If you have a completely open palette, it becomes almost impossible to make anything because there's too many choices that you can choose from.
But a few favorites are impossible to leave out.
So it's the really iconic elements of the movie were the light cycles and the disc battles, as well as an art style that was established by Sid Mead and Mobius. The light cycle design is, to me, the epitome of an elegant design. It's basically 2 spheres and a semicircle. It's one of the things that sticks out the most in people's memory of the film.
We actually worked with NVIDIA, which is a chip company, to specifically make a special effect just for the game to create the living glow that Tron had in the movie.
A couple of NVIDIA engineers were like, oh yeah, Tron, I got to do something for Tron. NVIDIA said, yeah, we'll look at it and see what we can do. 2 weeks later, they came back. They're like, what do you think? And it was the Tron glow. And we're like, well, this is perfect.
2 months after they announced the game, Buena Vista and Monolith put in an appearance at the video game mecca E3. Fans are excited about the new look and Sid Mead's involvement.
Disney had printed some lithos, and they showed the original Tron light cycle sort of in rasterized, this grid network which creates the computer object. And I signed those for, I don't know, a couple of hours. Had a line around 2 other booths, and it was exciting and a great professional affirmation of the fact that I'd helped Steve Lisberger and the Disney people do a great job 20-some years ago.
Once the media blitz of E3 dies down, Monolith goes back to work on the game they hope to have finished by January 2003. But will they?
Something's gone horribly wrong.
By the end of 2002, Tron 2.0 was nearly complete. Everything seemed right on track. Or so it seemed.
Our initial gold date was like February, maybe actually January. And we had a play test in November. It was 2 days over a weekend, you know, in one of the labs they have up over here, and a whole bunch of people got to come in and play the game. They played the first couple of levels.
Onto the platform.
And out of that, we took a couple things.
At this crucial point in development, Buena Vista Interactive asks for significant improvements.
Disney started looking at all this market research, and they came back to us and they said, we think you guys should do more light cycles in the game.
People really liked the light cycle races, and we had some of it in the game, but I think our feeling was, wow, you know, there really wasn't enough.
And at this point, we were a month away from going gold, and so, you know, we're not going to be able to get them into the normal single-player version of the game. It would just break things. We'd have all types of problems.
Oh man, I stink. Let me try that again.
Monolith came up with a proposal for a light cycle circuit race that, to me, is almost a whole game unto itself.
They sort of gave us a little extension.
Extending the time also did was allow us to add that extra polish to the game that really adds to that immersiveness.
And then we're also able to really expand out the multiplayer aspect of the game.
Begin.
Whereas before, it was not designed to have a huge multiplayer aspect, but now it does. Some of the things that are unique to Tron 2.0 are the types of weapons that you get to use. Of course, you have the disc, which was in the original movie, and you can throw that and you can guide it and control it. The disc offers something that's unusual for a first-person action game, is that you're also able to use it to block.
Colonel, put him on the grid.
A grid? Interesting proposition.
I guarantee it'll be a race you won't forget.
Then the third piece is the light cycle racing. It's very much like a real racing game.
It's so cool. In my mind, what separates Tron from the rest of the pack, it's not just a shooter.
I shudder to call Tron a shooter. I really would want to call it a first-person action-adventure game. It offers a lot. It's a big game.
The audio team is heavily involved in creating completely immersive environments.
Starting designing the sound for Tron was just watching the movie over and over and trying to learn from what they did and trying to mimic what they did. And I think that's where I got most of my inspiration was from the movie.
Jet, this place is infested with horribly disfigured programs.
Voiceover artists are brought in to bring the characters to life, including a few actors from the original movie.
Disney came to us and they're like, well, what would you guys think if Bruce Boxleitner did some stuff? And we were like, oh, that could be pretty cool.
Who are you? What is the meaning of all this?
Disney contacted Cindy Morgan, and we just figured, well, why don't we just make the AI Cindy?
Mathria, can you send me back?
Sorry, Jet. The reformat erased all vital routines critical to the digitizing process. I can't do it.
The more ties we can get back to the original film, the better we are.
Newbie Rebecca Romaine Stamos brings life to the character Mercury.
Disney was realizing that the Mercury character was actually really strong, visually was really cool, but also just as a female character had a lot of traits they really liked about her. And so they wanted to sort of play her up. We got a short list, so they had Rebecca do it, and she did the voice for Mercury.
Mercury?
Yes, I am. Then you're not half bad on the grid.
Finally, the last line of code is written and the game is shipped out in August of 2003. Critics and fans are immediately impressed with how well the team has recreated the look and feel of the film.
The reviews have been pretty much stellar. The Tron fan community is very happy. They've been supportive throughout, but they are just ecstatic.
It's just the CG effects, the lighting, the way they really took pains to make all the characters in the movie look like pieces of a computer program. It wasn't just guys running around in funky costumes. You know, they actually look like they fit in with that universe. I kind of look at them as one of the premier makers of first-person action games now.
As the Tron 2.0 team looks back at the many months of work on the game, they realize how much respect they have for the world of Tron.
When we started the product, we didn't know if we could accomplish all of the things that we wanted to. So that's scary. And you know, so you always have in the back of your mind, well, a few of these things we just won't be able to technically accomplish. Now, as far as I know, we did them all. We accomplished them all, so that was great.
The final product is, like any collaborative process, it's beyond what I had originally envisioned. When Disney first came to us, we had no idea that we were going to get input from Sid, Steven Lisberger. We had no idea, so we just figured we'll make our game. We had no idea there'd be a glow. None of this. We'll make this game. We'll make it cool because we're pretty confident in making cool games. Like any good collaborative process, the more everyone got into it, the more everyone got excited about it, it became better than the sum of its parts. You know, it just became better than what I thought it could be.
Having worked on Tron 21 years ago and having it have this persistence of appreciation and indeed energizing an entity as large as Disney to mount and complete an elaborate game, Tron 2.0, it's an enormously satisfying sensation to be attached to that.
I love to journey through it because it is sort of coming home for me. And in a way, I've been trying to find this place, I guess, for 21 years, and now it's shown up. To have that immersive feeling, to be able to just leave this world and just magically go in there and just dive in and be able to fly through it and turn in any direction, to be so wowed. You really feel like you are your energy being. You have left this physical realm and you've moved on to that higher plane, and that's where you are. It really worked out amazingly well. I'm really happy about it.